New unemployment rates by the National Bureau of Statistics has raised concerns among experts and Nigerians. According to the NBS, the updated methodology aligns with the International Labour Organization's guidelines, recognizing all types of work and integrating labor statistics with economic indicators like the gross domestic product. Despite explanations, skepticism remains, with critics including the Nigerian Labour Congress and economists disputing the sharp drop from 33% to 4.1% in a short span. So this morning, joining me to discuss this, I have Muktar Mohammed, the CEO Asheer Dynamic Solutions. Muktar, it's nice to have you join us again on the show. Muktar, can you say something? Can you say something so that we are sure that we have audio quality from your end too?
Yeah, I'm fine. I can hear you clearly.
Okay, fantastic. Now, the National Bureau of Statistics has transitioned to a new methodology for measuring unemployment rate as we see it. So I'd like you to explain the key differences between the old and the new methodologies being used to calculate what unemployment rates should be for the country.
Well, thank you. What we've just done, we've just decided that everybody.
Oh dear me. I guess we're having technical glitch there, so we will try to reestablish connection with Muktar and get the actual data or information from him, looking at this particular statistics being rolled out by the NBS as regards Nigeria's unemployment rate, a sharp drop from 33% to about 4.1%. And so many people have been questioning the rationality or the parameters by which the NBS used. The methodology is also being used to arrive at that particular figure. And some people have also said, how come is it that the unemployment rate has dropped to that point when we've seen a lot of, well, maybe not a lot, or a couple of international businesses who have actually shut down operation and moved to other climes? Hello, Muktar, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now.
So what I'm saying in it is that what they decided to do was just to bring up a new formula and say that everybody that has a job in Nigeria is working. So it's not something very unusual, because when we look at employment data in other developed economy, we are looking at data that have to do with how many have been employed, how many been employed as long as you have worked a hour a day, and you know what that means is that the bus driver or the graduate that didn't find anything to do, that is now busy trying to maybe go to the site to look for side jobs to do, or do other jobs that are low in terms of his type of profile, is not being classified as that person that have been employed because he was able to get a job for 1 hour.
So how do we then ascertain the accuracy and comprehensiveness of Nigeria's unemployment rate status in terms of the data and the reports being made available? Because when you come up with a methodology like that, the question you would want to ask is how it actually applies to Nigeria's labor climb. So how do we now determine that this particular report is accurate?
New report, and we'll need to do a lot of investigation on it. But for me, like I said, it doesn't give a true picture of the employment or the employment on unemployment rate in Nigeria. Even the first one, we are still complaining about it, but they now came up with this new one, and the parameter they use is not even global best practice. You are saying that a child that is 15, as long as that we are going against the international rule when it comes to child labor. I mean, we are now saying a child that is 15 should begin to fend for himself. I think that also tells you how wrong this classification of this recent classification of employment data are, whereby you begin to classify a child, which will, and in one hand, you are supporting them with data that they are providing employment and they are providing means of livelihood into their family. I think for me, that's also a slap on the organization. So, I mean, on the data. So we need to really look at it critically and come up with what we're using before even employment. You look at how much people are employed into the economy, like I said, how many are unemployed, how many are underemployed, how many are even overemployed. You know, there's underemployment, there's overemployment. So there's a lot of data that they needed to look into. But what they have just done now is to just classify every Nigerian that go out and get something to do as being employed. For me, that's not
But
the
but
true
then
figure of it.
Mukhtar, but then the NBS said that these particular reports and parameters used actually are aligned with the International Labour Organization standards when it comes to labor statistics, GDP, and of course labor productivity. So if that is a basis or some sort of an explanation being given, don't you think that is tenable in justifying the switch to this particular methodology being used?
Lekan, I gave you one example. How can I think I dispute that. You say you put in a child that's 15 years old, you said best practice where a child of 15 that's supposed to go to school. It's not working. So for me, I don't think international best practice, that's the way they've done it. In the US or in developed economy, they look at how much in terms of per capita earning of each person in the labor force, how much have they been able to earn, how much of that money find their way into the tax bracket, how much of that money improve their own livelihood. Looking at the household income that are getting from people that are busy working. But what we see in Nigeria, you are just giving us data. You have not even told us how impactful these figures in terms of earnings is helping the household in terms of reduction in poverty. The poverty rate in Nigeria is still high. So if you are saying the rate unemployment has dropped to 4.1%, based on your data from a height of about 32%, which we also still dispute at that time, then why is the poverty level in Nigeria is still high? Because you value any you look at your employment data via your poverty level data. If your poverty level is high, that means you have high unemployment. And if your poverty level is low, that means you have a lot of people that are involved in one thing or the other that are providing incomes into their household. So the data is disputable anywhere because that is not global best practice. Remember, the World Bank have even said it, that when you want to look at global practices when it comes to employment data or GDP, you need to look at household income. Has their household income improved over the years or is it low? So as it stands now, you and I know that the household income of the average Nigerian is going up. And we only have four classes of people in Nigeria now. We have the very rich, the rich, and we have the very poor, the poor. And there's no middle class. Middle class seems to be the one that bridge the gap. They are the ones that are employable. They are the ones that pay taxes. Because when you talk about the middle class, you are talking about the formal sector. So they shouldn't come up and begin to defend such a data. We know that this data is not the right way to go about it.
Well, the KPMG had the conflicting reports predicting a rise in unemployment rates due to slow economic growth and job market challenges. And it revealed that the rate increased to about 37.7% in 2022, that was last year, and would further rise to about 40.6%. So would you say this, if you're not going with what the NBS has ruled out, would you say this is actually a true reflection of what obtains in Nigeria's unemployment rate data?
I'll go with the KPMG data any day because of a lot of variables are put in place, and like they said, even at that 41 point something percent, they are just putting those that are employed. They are not even looking at underemployment. They are not even looking at or those that have lost their jobs also within those periods. The economy have not kickstart the way we have had policy pronouncement. We have not begun to see the impact of those policy area, especially in the area of job creation. So I will go with the KPMG data. For me, I think that is, even if we still come say the unemployment rate is higher than what they have been paying the KPMG, but I think it's still far better than what the MBS is giving to us.
So just to wrap things up, Mukhtar, in the light of the reactions and of course the controversies actually surrounding these unemployment figures, what steps do you think NBS need to take to restore public confidence, most especially when it comes to reporting analysis of the labor markets data and having a true reflection of what obtains? So what do you think must be done at this critical time?
Later they have to go back and look at global best practice on how these data are taken. And I've told you, is by income, addition of income, how many households have been moved in terms of job creation from maybe the poor to from the very poor to the poor, and then from the poor to the middle class. Those are the type of from the middle class to the rich, and then the very rich. Those are the type of data that they should be looking at into, not the type of data they are giving us at the moment. And I hope, I hope and believe that MBS is not being politicized like we have seen them as being political. Remember the former MBS TG has given us a very wonderful data that sometimes conflict what the executive was saying, but they say they got their data independently through their own investigation. I hope we are still on that page. We are not beginning to see an MBS that is becoming a government status to push government policy to say that a lot of things are happening. Hopefully, we are not saying that. They should go back to the real data, global best practices, whereby you look at employment data based on figures of how much people have been employed, how many people lose their job, how many people are out there looking for job, and how many industries providing job, and give a baseline or advice to the government on what to do going forward.
Of course, we know that when it comes to making policies, policymakers actually rely on data like this to make informed decisions as regards the economy, the unemployment situation in the country, and every other aspect of the country's growth, as it were. So it would be only meaningful and sensible at this time for us to have an accurate data being made available. Muktar, Mohammed, CEO, Asheer, Dynamic Solutions, thank you so much for talking to us.
My pleasure, Lekan.
The latest data on Nigeria's shrinking unemployment rate is still a thing of wonder to many Nigerians and economists. The expectation is that the government will come up with veritable facts that can be useful in the implementation of policies and programs aimed at ensuring and sustaining Nigeria's growth, and that is the way to go. Thank you so much for being part of today's edition of Business Edge. You can follow us on social media. We are at New Central TV. Visit our website, www.newcentral.africa, and equally download our mobile app on App Store and Play Store. Till some other time, I am Lekan Onabanjo.